Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to GICCIM 2021. We will now get into our next session. In this session, we will hear Dr. Gurmeet Singh, spesialis penyakit dalam, konsultan pulmonologi, and Prof. Buleng Kukurku, discussing on optimizing supportive treatment in pulmonary disease. Moderating this session will be Dr. Evata Bilvan Ivano, spesialis penyakit dalam. Dr. Evata is a teaching staff at Faculty of Medicine, Universitas Sam Ratulangi, Singkando Hospital, Manado. And before start, we would like to inform you that we will have some added door prize after this session. Door prize will be given to 3 participants asking the most interesting questions. Without further ado, Dr. Evata, the floor is yours. Sorry, Dr. Evata, I think you need to unmute.
Is my sound clearly?
Yes, clearly, sound clear, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, speakers and participants. My name is Evata Poli as a moderator for this session. First of all, I would like to say thank you for this committee to give me opportunity in this event. Now we came to this next session for today with the title Optimizing Supportive Treatment in Pulmonary Diseases. We have 2 expert speaker for today. First speaker is Dr. Gurmeet Singh, SPPDKP, and the second one is Professor Buleng Kukurutku. I'm sorry, Professor, if I mistake to spell your name.
You did perfectly. Thank you.
Okay. Now we enter to first speaker, Dr. Gurmeet Singh, SPPDKP, will present about immune modulator in COVID-19 and other pulmonary disease. Before the presentation, I would like to read the CV of Dr. Gurmeet. Dr. Gurmeet lahir di Jakarta tanggal 10 Agustus tahun 72 sebagai staf dan sekarang bekerja sebagai staf di Divisi Respirologi dan Respirasi Kritis, Departemen Ilmu Penyakit Dalam, Fakultas Kedokteran Universitas Indonesia. Kemudian pendidikan di dokter umum di FK Ukrida tahun 1997 dan spesialis penyakit dalam di FKUI di 2010. Now allow me to welcome Dr. Gurmeet to make his presentation. To Dr. Gurmeet, the floor is yours, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Evata Poli. And once again, thank you, Dr. Prof. Buleng Kukurku. I can share platform together again with you. And if I'm not mistaken, today is your birthday, Professor Buleng?
Yes, it's true.
Yeah, so very happy birthday to you, Professor Buleng.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, stay safe, always healthy, and have a long life, and share your updates with us over here and throughout the world.
All together.
So, thank you to PT Sintesa, PT Catalyst for this session. So I'll be talking about some immunomodulators role in COVID-19 and other pulmonary diseases. As we all know, that pandemic is still ongoing, still some research being done. I think diagnosing is okay. We have got well-established diagnostic tools, but therapeutic right now probably only 2 well-established, that is steroid and anticoagulant therapy. And some more immunomodulators is being well-established in ongoing trials. So we all know that WHO has already declared COVID-19 as a pandemic. Almost all countries in the world is dealing with this pandemic, and only some few countries that are free from this COVID-19 pandemic, and if I'm not mistaken, to name few, it's Australia and New Zealand that is still free from COVID-19. So yeah, it's still a new emerging disease, being studied throughout the world, even though diagnostic tools are well established, but still some therapeutic intervention are being studied throughout. It's been transmitted by droplets, so within 1 to 2 meters. So we have to take a universal precaution, keep on masking, maintain physical distancing, and to perform hand hygiene before, after visiting patient, and also has a routine procedures. So some procedures might induce infection through airborne. To name few, we've got bronchoscopy, endotracheal intubation, we've got dental procedures, and nebulizer therapy. Even though some procedures right now, to name few like endotracheal intubation and some tracheostomy procedures are being said to be not aerosol generating procedures. It's quite a small virus. It's the hidden enemy. You cannot see the virus through our naked eyes. And the etiology is SARS-CoV-2 because it shares almost 80% of the SARS-CoV-1 particles. And we have to use N95 respirators because it can protect us from particle larger than 0.3 microns. So what we do over here also in Indonesia is when we go and visit our COVID-19 patient, we have to put on N95. While we perform some aerosol generating procedures, we use N95. Where other than that, we use some surgical mask. So worldwide update, top 3 is, I think it's quite the same. It's USA, India, and Brazil. Even though USA, they've been reporting that cases are coming down and death rates are also coming down, probably to the good vaccination program. And I think, in my opinion, that probably by next week, India will overtake USA, even though they're doing now quite well in controlling the second wave. In Indonesia, Jakarta, where I'm residing, is still number 1 in Indonesia, even though we can see the number of cases that is recovering from COVID-19. We have got a high number cases recovering from COVID-19. We've got a low mortality rate also from COVID-19. And this graph shows that our government are also doing a good job in diagnosing, treating patients, educating populations, Indonesian population of maintaining this good health protocols and also promoting vaccination program in Indonesia. So pathophysiology, I think for any infectious disease, even though it's a viral infection, it's a bacterial infection, it's a fungal infection, you got 2 immunity systems, innate immune systems and the adaptive immune system. So innate immune system will be the first system to be activated when there is a foreign particle enters the body. And in innate immune system, there are 2 I say like mediators that play an important role, or 2 cells. Yeah, one is the alveolar macrophage. The patient has to have a good function in alveolar macrophage, functioning well alveolar macrophage, and the amount of the alveolar macrophage have to be sufficient enough to fight these foreign particles. And also type 1 interferon gamma plays an important role, because some studies also have shown that in severe COVID-19 patient, there is a deficiency in type 1 interferon gamma. So a delayed or suppressed type 1 interferon gamma during initial infection might give a bad prognosis. After the innate immune systems is being activated, if it can counter the foreign body, the infection will resolve, the repairing procedures for the lung parenchyma will get started. And if you get a high viral load and weak innate immune system, the infection will keep on going, and it will activate the adaptive immune system. And this is where the neutrophils, the inflammatory cytokines, the CD4, CD8 cells, this plays a role. Okay, so in COVID-19, there are 3 stages. It's stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. I think all of you have been aware of this graph. So in the early stage, antiviral response plays an important role. And in the stage 3 is the high post-inflammatory response that will play an important role in deciding the prognostic of the patient. So it will be much better if we can give immunomodulatory therapies in stage 1, where the viral is actively replicating in order to suppress this viral replication and also to minimize the host inflammatory response. There are multiple immunomodulators. There are some pills that we can take, some food. They also say that fever is also one of immunomodulating therapy, and also a good sleep. This is a paper which described that in fever, when someone gets a fever, there's I think there's no need to disturb the physiological effects of fever. Yeah, so in this paper it shows that in a patient with fever up to 39 degrees Celsius, it can produce as much as 10-fold more interferon gamma than cell withdrawn at basal core temperature from the same individuals. So I've also read some papers probably 3 weeks back about this fever thing. So one professor from Canada, he was reporting that there's no need for us to intervene to give antipyretic therapies in patient who has developed a fever, because this is a normal pathophysiologic response for infection. So the main thing is you treat the infection and don't treat the fever, probably due to the high production of interferon gamma in a patient having fever. There's a review article about the fever and thermoregulation of immunity, how the inflammatory cues delivered by thermal element of fever stimulate innate and adaptive immune responses. Also in this paper, they show some evidence that a person having fever or thermal stress, it can suppress or dampens the cytokines synthesis. And what they found out was it can suppress less TNF-alpha, interleukin-6, and interleukin-1 beta when patients are exposed to febrile temperature. So once again, we have to reevaluate whether to treat fever in our patient or just let the psychologic or the physiologic procedures, what is happening in the body as a result of an infection, let it go as natural. One of the next immunomodulators is zinc. This is also quite common now, being given in COVID-19 patient. And also there are a lot of papers of zinc has immunomodulators in non-COVID-19 patient. What they found out that zinc deficiency is associated with reduced antibody production. It also affects the function of innate immune system and decreased cytokine production by monocytes. So even though there is lack of clinical data, the role of zinc in COVID-19 patient, they still suggest that the modulation of zinc systems might be beneficial in COVID-19 patient. There is also some issue whether to give zinc alone, I mean without any other zinc ionophore, Well, in this paper, they clearly suggest that for zinc to enter the cells and to function well enough, they need some zinc ionophore. They mention about chloroquine as one of the zinc ionophore, and the other zinc ionophore is green tea. So probably while taking zinc or while giving zinc to a patient, there's also discussion, we can add chloroquine or we can add another zinc ionophore, that is a green tea. Yeah, so this is what they found out, that 1, 2, 3, 4, in 4 groups. One is a control group, and the second is only zinc supplementation, and the third zinc with chloroquine 300 mg, and the fourth group is chloroquine 300 mg with zinc. And what they found out that in patient in the study group, where they added chloroquine 300 mg and zinc together, the zinc insertion in the cell is much more compared to patient only being given with zinc. So in order to zinc to be beneficial, has a immunomodulatory effect, it will be much better to add a zinc ionophore. In non-COVID patient, about zinc as a immunomodulator. This is a meta-analysis. They try to find out what is the best dose for zinc to be beneficial as an immunomodulator. And through this meta-analysis, they find out that the minimum dose, or shall I say maximum 75 mg per day is beneficial. Whether you give it as zinc acetate or zinc gluconate, it doesn't matter. Yeah, because through this pool diagram over here, we can see that the forest plot, all of the studies, except these 2 studies, it gives a beneficial effect of zinc as an immunomodulator. Okay, over here they show that the estimate effect of all 7 trials indicates a 33% reduction in common cold duration. Vitamin D, this is also one of the immunomodulators. I think it's well established, not only in COVID-19 and patient, also in other respiratory diseases. So I recently also checked my vitamin D levels, and it's 11.1. So I've been taking a vitamin D3, 5,000 units per day, in order to increase my vitamin D levels to a target 40 to 60 ml. So in this small retrospective observational studies, they found out a link. It's just a link that with vitamin D status and severe COVID-19 patients. Of course, there are multiple studies being done in patients that with low vitamin levels, vitamin D levels, they have been given supplementation with vitamin D, and they try to find out the significant effect. And till now, what I found is, or what I read is, there is no correct or proper significant effect while increasing vitamin D level in patient with whether in severe COVID-19 or in other respiratory disease. But they found out that in patient Afro-American, elderly, hypertension, obesity, and also in male COVID-19 patient, they found a large amount of vitamin D insufficiency. And also in moderate, severe, and critical COVID-19 patient, you can see over here that in critical, that is marked with the color red, they found out a low level of vitamin D level in those population compared to the moderate and the severe population. Meta-analysis about vitamin D supplementation to prevent acute respiratory tract infection, because there are some clinicians suggesting about this bolus high dose vitamin D in the early stages of any diseases, also in COVID-19 patients, and some are suggesting a routine intake. So which one is much better? From this meta-analysis, this show that that people who are very deficient in vitamin D and those receiving daily or weekly supplementation, it is much better. It experiences particular benefit compared with additional bolus doses. So it will be much better in giving a routine or daily or weekly supplementation compared to once bolus supplementation of vitamin D. Sleep and immunity in times of COVID-19. So in COVID-19 pandemic, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have to maintain 4 variables or 4 balance in sleep, mental health, immune system, and biological status. And from this review article, they found out that sleep affects immunity, and they recommend a minimum of 6 to 7 hours of good night sleep will be beneficial for our immune system, because they found out that at the time of 9 p.m. and before 12 p.m., there is a significant increase of growth hormone in those subjects, and also growth hormone is needed for the production of for increased production of CD4 and CD8 cells, which in fact is one of the key variables or key cells in adaptive immunity. N-acetylcysteine, NAC, is also another antioxidant and immunomodulator. This is an old study in 1997 in Italy. So it's 20 centers being involved. N-acetyl dose is 1,200 mg per day. I think they evaluate for 1 year. And what they found out that compared to the placebo group, in the group taking NAC, there was a reduction in 79%. Only 25% of the subjects infected with influenza virus developed symptoms compared to almost 80% in the placebo group. So their conclusion is NAC significantly reduce the episode of influenza and does not prevent influenza. So I think it's also the same for COVID-19 patients. By taking NAC, it probably, or it will significantly reduce the episode of COVID-19, but does not prevent someone from getting this COVID-19 infection. Vitamin C in critical ill patient, this is another immunomodulator. This is a study being done. This is a new study in 2021 just being published. So they compare high dose vitamin C patients compared to placebo, non-high dose vitamin C. What they found out was in ventilator-free days, there is no significant result in the placebo group and in the group receiving this high dose vitamin C. What they give was around 5 grams of vitamin C for 96 hours, and it was given through drip infusion for 8 hours. But they did some sub-analysis, and they found out in the patient receiving this high dose vitamin C, in the SOFA score less than 3, and in the severe ARDS in the SOFA score more than 3, high dose intravenous vitamin C infusion, it exhibited a trend of reduction in 28-day mortality in more severe patient, and also compared to placebo group in the high dose vitamin C group, the median SOFA score increased from the score 2 to 6, whereas in the placebo group it slightly decreased from 3, 5 to 3. Yeah. So in the 7-day treatment. So I think from this study it concluded that high dose vitamin D has immunomodulatory effect in severe sepsis patient. Glyceric acid, Prof. Bulen will be talking more and deeper about glyceric acid. So glycyrrhizin acid may be an efficacious therapeutic agent for COVID-19. So these are the mechanism they propose over here. In subjects without glycyrrhizin acid, they got a high level of Toll-like receptor 4, and this promote inflammation in the patient. Whereas in patient consuming glycyrrhizin acid, you will find low level of Toll-like receptors, reduce inflammation, and an increased level of mineralocorticoid receptor, and this might dampens the fusion for this virus to enter the cells, and hence it will reduce the inflammation in this patient. So there are some beneficial effects of this glycyrrhizin acid. When someone has been given this glycyrrhizin acid, it can dampens the pro-inflammatory cytokines, and also it can hampers the coagulation activation, and also it can promote endogenous interferon type 1, which is an important what I say is important thing in the innate immune systems. So we can see over here that it will glycyrrhizin acid will suppresses all the bad beneficial effects of an infection, and it will promote the beneficial effect from this infection. So this over here we have got this biocid. You can have a syrup, a liquid form. You can have a sachet form. So over here we see that it's a combination of multi-immunomodulators. You got a glycyrrhizin acid. We know the beneficial effect. There's also vitamin C inside that. Also there is zinc, which is also beneficial and has an immunomodulator in the times of infection, and of course vitamin B6 and vitamin B12. So to conclude my presentation, we have got a protocol to treat COVID-19 patient in Indonesia. This is being made by multiple organizations in Indonesia, and also immunomodulators have been routinely administered to COVID-19 patient in Indonesia. We have been giving vitamin D, we have been giving vitamin C, and also Biocid for some of our or majority of our COVID-19 patient. We have also been included in solidarity trial for COVID-19 patient, and also some more trials that we have been included, and recently we have been also invited to participate in another multi-center, multinational trial for COVID-19 patient. Vaccination program is been thoroughly going in Indonesia, and also even though we have got a slow increase in vaccination program, but we are going to a positive trend, and the cases or the population being vaccinated is in the upward slope. So by this presentation, by this slide, I conclude my presentation. Thank you for everyone. Back to you, Mr. Moderator, Dr. Eva Tapoli.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gourmet, for giving such as informative and interesting presentation. Now, our second speaker is Professor Bulen Kukurutku. He will present about the role of molecular activation product in COVID-19. Education before the presentation, I would like to read the CV Prof. Bulen. Education background, degree in biology, specialization in biology and marine Biology from University of Egen, Izmir, Turkey, 1986 laboratory course and practicing in clinical biochemistry and parasitology at the Health Institute, taxonomy master and practicing in biology department of the University of Istanbul, doctoral program in advanced studies, diploma from biodiversity division of biology department of Autonomous University of Madrid. And the last position now, as advisor and scientific director, scientific department of catalysis SL, and professor at the International University of Andalusia for the genetic resources and benefit sharing for the student of doctoral and master. And behalf the Jiccim committee and all participants would like to say happy birthday to Professor, wishing a good health, happiness, and success always. Now, allow me to welcome Professor Bulan Kukurutku to make his presentation. The floor is yours, Prof. Please.
Thank you. Thank you very much to everybody. Thank you very much for your birthday wishes. I wish the same for everybody. Yes, I would like to start with my presentation. Yes. I would like to just inform here my main objective, the mechanism of a product that is highly helpful in COVID-19 treatment, and of course in other therapies and other treatments also. I'm a biologist. As a biologist point of view will be presented to you related with VUCIT product. Before that, I would like to briefly talk about our company, Catalysis Laboratories, or Catalysis company as a pharmaceutical company. A little bit different than the rest of the companies. Our company especially work with natural molecules, and in its development program, as a mean part of the European Union, applies manufacturing good manufacturing practices or good laboratory practices, and the company has some standard certification. And the characteristic of Catalysis company exclusively we have a technology, we call it molecular activation. This molecular activation technology increase beneficial properties of the molecule, especially natural molecules, by amplifying their biological indication 10 times, sometimes 100 times, even more, making them without increasing the concentration, having health improvement. That is the main objective of this technology. This technology discovered in Sesi. Sesi is one of the most important research center complex in Spain, from mathematics to engineering, from marine sciences to medicine. They have different research buildings, research complex. This technology discovered by a biochemistry group there, and in the following year, thanks to the collaborations, this technology became part of our company, and exclusively Catalysis company applies this technology in the manufacturing process to every single molecule that we use. For understanding better, we can check these pictures. What is the molecular activation technology? It's a biocatalytic process, not a chemical reaction process. In our factories, we have special designed reactors. Here, depending on the chemical factors of each molecule, like pH, double carbon links, molecular weight, we designed a specific electrical field with a specific intensity and time depending. So during the process, we start to bond with electrons. We inject electrons. During the process, in the internal orbits of the atoms of this molecule, there's interchange of electrons. And during this interchange or the course of the electrons, some electrons, they crash between them that produce energy, internal energy. That internal energy affects finally the biological indications of each of these molecules, especially their antioxidant capacity. But during the process, we don't change the number of electrons or protons. We are talking about exactly the same molecule, but with more energy. We can see this example in the salicylic acid case. As you know, this molecule for years, still we do use this molecule, natural molecule, as a therapeutical molecule, isolated from the tree Salix alba, from the cortex of the tree, discovered there, and that is a secondary metabolite of the plant. Probably plant also has a different use of this molecule against different pathogens. This molecule is anti-inflammatory, repeaters and so on, but it is a powerful antioxidant, like other natural molecules that we use in our products. So each of these molecules has specific antioxidant capacity for different areas, therapeutical areas. So in this case, salicylic acid, before the activation, contains this antioxidant capacity. And during the process, we can see how this antioxidant capacity is rising up. So we amplify this antioxidant capacity, and this amplification directly affects to the clinical trial. We can give an example of here an amino sugar, glucosamine. We use it for the joints, for the regeneration of the joints in our articulation. But this molecule has antiviral capacity, antiviral activity, but we cannot detect this activity if we don't pass by the molecular activation process. We amplify this antiviral capacity. So when they discovered this and they made a study and they published it in Acta Ophthalmologica in 1989, in this study, they've got 4 groups of rabbits and they infected their eyes with herpes simplex virus. And in one group, they used saline solution. In another group, they used non-activated glucosamine. And in the third group, they used activated glucosamine with the same concentration. And the fourth group, they used for comparing the results aciclovir, anti-herpetic molecule. So the result was the saline solution and non-activated glucosamine didn't give any antiviral capacity. You can see here, keratosis totally, we lost the function of the eye. But when we check the activated glucosamine with the same concentration, we had exactly the same antiviral activity. In 14 days, totally, we removed the infection. But even in 4 days, comparing to aciclovir, we have better aspect. It is first related with the mechanism of action of glucosamine. It's just creating the protection on the own animal cells, in healthy cells, blocking the penetration of virus. And also the metabolic activities are joined to the metabolic activities of glucosamine is faster, thanks to this energy gaining that the molecular activation technology gives. So this amplification clearly can be seen as antiviral in our product also, viruses, because we use also glucosamine, activated glucosamine in viruses, together with glycyrrhizinic acid we can talk about the antiviral properties. So this technology gives us important benefits, which are this increased biological activity of each of these molecules. By the way, we are not the discoverer of these molecules. These molecules that we are talking in Bioseed are already studied in different areas. In infectology, glucosamine and glycyrrhizinic acid are already studied. We know their antiviral capacity and non-specific antiviral capacity. But what we do with this technology, we potentiate them more. We amplify their capacity more. So that's why very low concentration, without charging the organism with the excess of the molecules, we can obtain important and fast clinical results. And of course, during the use of our product, we don't damage to any other part of the organism. For example, we don't damage the kidney, we don't damage the digestive system. So no side effects when you use catalysis product. Till now, we didn't receive any report. And when you check also the nature of our products, you see that generally they are multimolecular products. And this multimolecular capacity sometimes is very difficult to manufacture, to make in one product. As you know, the molecules can react between them. We can lose their biological indications, or even we can lose the molecule. Totally, we can have another certain molecule different than the other one because of the reactions between them. So as a result of our scientific department in catalysis, they were looking always, and we still do for the new product, chemical synergy between all these molecules. Because thanks to chemical synergy, we even increase their biological indications more, but also it gives us a very important synergy with the other health products that you use in therapeutical protocol. Any single molecule or treatment that you use will have good synergy and good will give good clinical results thanks to biocatalytic effect of BUC. So we start to talk about the product. It is a multimolecular product. Excuse me. And the product brings us, gives us important names of flashes. It is antioxidant, antiviral, immunomodulator, hepatoprotector. As you can see here, the reason that we have this title of the product, because each of these molecules that we have in the product has a different activity in different part of the organism. And under these titles, we have subtitles of the product that we can say, for example, it is anti-inflammatory, it is revitalizant, it is biocatalytic. So all these main titles will give us also subtitles thanks to different mechanisms that product gives us. So mainly Bioseed, as you can see here, this gentleman visiting our installations, especially this gentleman, he is Dr. Luc Montagnier, Nobel Prize, one of the co-discoverers of HIV virus, visiting our installations. The reason, like 40 years back, we wanted to create a product powerful to reduce the viral load, but also restore the damages that HIV was creating. And Dr. Luc Montagnier was especially as a consultant collaborating with catalysis at this time. And we created this product. It was at the beginning, after the clinical trials worked for HIV, and also, for example, was not only was increasing the survival of the people, but also the life quality thanks to different mechanisms, especially in hematology, in the blood cells. So in the following years, we studied with the product. We saw that not only HIV, we have very important success stories in the clinical trials against papilloma, herpes virus, many other pathogen viral infections and bacterial infections as an adjuvant also was giving us important trials. And when we got these results, we created also the veterinarian form of VUCIT, and we successfully start to use also against animal viral infections. I can say that for the last 15 years, we are already fighting against infectious bronchitis in poultry farming, and also porcine epidemial diarrhea virus in porcine farming with success. I mean, that is not only a new coronavirus in human coronavirus SARS-2 for viruses. So when we go to the environment of oxidative stress in the immune system, we have lots of external factors that are creating inflammatory response, and that is a leukocyte activation. And finally, we have a local general oxidative stress. And with this, we can eliminate the pathogens, or overexpression of this oxidative reactive species generation, which can create collateral damages. That is a balance that is important, must be regulated. When we go to oxidative stress and viral replication area, so we have here the typical mechanism of induction of oxidative stress by a virus infection and genome replication. And the important activity of this mechanism finally will give us regulation, excuse me, regulation of oxidative stress and the capacity of control of the infected cells replication. So VUCIT is multimolecular, as I said. These glycyrrhinic acid, glucosamine, malic acid together giving antiviral capacity. What is antiviral? Any molecule is able to reduce the viral load, is antiviral. It doesn't mean that the mechanism is directly interchanging the actions between the virus and the particles, but we know that these molecules creating a protection by blocking the receptors, biological receptors, in blocking the penetration of virus. And these molecules are powerful antioxidants, anti-anemic, immunomodulator, biocatalytic. So that's why we have several actions in products. For example, the last clinical trials and publication they did in Bulgaria and in Spain with COVID-19 patients, why the most of the symptoms quickly disappear, and also, for example, thanks to amino acid containing of the product, we have better neurotransmission. Thanks to zinc sulfate of the product, we have a better, for example, testing of the patient when they eat. The testing sense is coming back again thanks to these molecules that we can confirm in this clinical trial. But there is one molecule that is repeating in every area, which is glycyrrhinic acid. Let's say it's the main molecule of the product, and we know that these groups are antiviral groups in the molecule. And when we go to the literature, we find many different studies in different levels. First of all, it is glycyrrhizinic acid has a regenerative effect. Especially in these studies, we can see how the product is important regeneration activity in liver and kidney. And in this study, in the studies, we see that it is powerful anti-hepatic molecule. It is able to reduce the expression of virus A, B, C, as we can see here in different studies. And also we can make a group of studies like to see the efficiency of glycyrrhizinic acid in influenza, SARS-related coronavirus, herpes family, flaviviruses, in respiratory syncytial virus. So when we check the mechanism of glycyrrhizinic acid, mainly endocytic or non-endocytic route, the molecule is able to block the penetration of virus. But we see that is directly connect to the biological receptors, in this case ACE2, the COVID-19, and blocking the penetration. And in the second mechanism of the product is when we have inflammatory stimuli in a cell, and we have ADPH oxidase and the local oxidative stress for mitochondria and inhibition of nuclear factor kappa B by several activities, and blocking the division of this infected cell, so no replication of virus. As you can see, several activities in cytosol allows us that this infected cell cannot be divided and the virus cannot be replicated. At least the virus cannot complete its biological circle. So after the death of the cell, we have lots of viral particles in the bloodstream, but we don't have the capacity of reinfecting of these viral particles, because they didn't finish their biological cycle. They don't have, for example, capsid. So these viral particles quickly eliminated later on after the death of the cell. In case of HIV, we have also similar studies, and we know that from that study, glycyrrhizinic acid halts the viral replication as a result of inhibition of kinase P, and irreversibly protein kinase P inhibitor its function. So here the mechanism is in CD4, but also in ACE2. So why we are talking about the glycyrrhizinic acid especially? Because it's the main molecule of virus, but of course it doesn't mean that other molecules doesn't have function, because it's the orchestration. When we talk about a disease, we cannot have one target. We have to attack to the problem by different mechanisms and resolve the damages that these viral infection creates. And one of the important reports in the last days we received is initially is the first organ that the virus touches interrelation is the respiratory system. But also studies show that COVID-19 also affects cardiovascular system, capillary system, but also the last studies showing that it is attacking directly to the beta cells in pancreas, creating less concentration of insulin, and like this is high sugar level in the blood, and creating diabetic problems. So that is, as you can see, multiple damages that SARS-CoV creates, and that's why these scientists suggest glycyrrhizinic acid as an important candidate for fighting against this virus, thanks to the different activities. For example, first activity is glycyrrhizin binds directly to ACE2 receptors and prevent the penetration of virus, and also downregulates the pro-inflammatory cytokine. And I will talk in the following stages in one of the activities by neutralizing amphoterine protein, and also inhibits the accumulation of intracellular oxidative reactive species, the product here, and inhibits thrombin, inhibits hyperproduction of airway exudates, and also induce endogenous interferon naturally to combat viral infections, but also the opportunistic infections like bacterial infection. So high mobility group box protein, thanks to the scientists that they work with this compound, and we know the implication of this protein in many different activities and areas. Here we can see metabolic activities or metabolic disorders, and here respiratory system problems. This protein is a factor. This protein normally important protein that organizes the DNA, regulates the transcription, binds the DNA, making binding with other proteins, the transcription factor. But this molecule also extracellularly, if a high level of concentration of this molecule will create a problem. And also amphoterine is secreted by the immune cells, macrophage, monocytes, dendritic cells, and activated macrophage and monocyte secret of amphoterine works as a cytokine mediator in inflammation. But after its function must be regulated, neutralized by antibodies. Otherwise, it's going to create damages, tissue injuries, and cytokine storming. In case of SARS-2, also by these scientists, the amphoterine is a target molecule for not creating damages, because as we can see here, because of the infection, epithelial cells, macrophage, cytolysis, and free amphoterine will create acute lung injuries, edemas, leakages, so on. How it works, what they see in this study suggests that glycyrrhizin directly binds to amphoterine like this and neutralizing it. And another study also that confirming this, glycyrrhizin binds directly and as an important antioxidant and neutralizing the effect of amphoterine or high mobility group OX1 by binding by two structures. As I said, it's not only glycyrrhizinic acid in VUC. I can give another example, which is also the efficiency of glycyrrhizin on the neutralization of amphoterine and as a powerful antioxidant against the ferroptosis. But also glucosamine is antiviral in this case. Here we can see in the study mitochondrial antiviral signaling protein, MAYS, plays a role in innate immunity as antiviral. That is glucosamine or binding of this molecule on the cells will induce the innate immune response against especially RNA type of virus. So we know also from the studies the importance of amino acids and zinc sulfate like in the studies we can talk. So by itself, Bioseed has also clinical trials in publications and important medicine journals. And we can see here how Bioseed is important in steatohepatitis patients, in NASH patients, for increasing life quality of the patients and increasing reducing the symptoms of steatohepatitis and in fat accumulation. Here another study with Bioseed on psoriatic arthritis. There are lots of studies of the product, especially, for example, Bioseed on the viral infection, especially, for example, papilloma, in the strains that can create including oncological problems. In this case, the mechanism are already studied, and they say that the scientists Bioseed mediate a downregulation of notch pathway and initiation of the apoptosis disruption in the cell cycle progress. And thanks to this mechanism, we can see also the similar results in the infected viral infected cells by the virus. Finally, because all this pathway will finish pathogen mediated molecular pathway will finish always with the damage associated molecular pathway. So finally, the mechanism of infected virus and degenerated cell will finish with the same end. So that's why the mechanism is very similar, and the trial suggests that Bioseed is not only efficient as on viral infection cases, but also when we have degenerated cells like tumor cells, cancerogenic cells, we have important results. But here in this study, also in psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, because this, as you know, the psoriasis and the cancer is a very similar degenerative diseases. Just the psoriasis, we don't have metastasis, but the
3 minutes left,
yes.
Prof.
Thank you. And another study also we can see here important efficiency of the product in cirrhosis by increasing the life expectancy of the patients in the competitive cirrhosis. We can see also the studies in hepatitis C patients, ribavirin and interferon combination by reducing the toxicity of ribavirin. That's why they published this also this in Liver International. And here in fatty liver, the product is able to reduce the fat accumulation and making more a functional liver. Here also a powerful antioxidant capacity of the product by regulating the cytokine mechanism, as we can see, promoving regulating pro-inflammatory cytokines and anti-inflammatory interleukins in this case, how the product is especially in chronic hepatitis C. Due to another study in Brunswick laboratories in the United States, they found that the product also is a powerful antioxidant. It contains 12,000 oracally in 1 milliliter. That makes the product is the strongest antioxidant product that is created as a commercial product. That means that in any area that I need to reduce the damages in the cell because of oxidative stress, I can use this product. In the digestive system, generally in the immune system and the reproduction system especially. So what we do in Bioseed? Bioseed we use in prevention for the health workers successfully with the clinical trial, in management and recovery of the patients after COVID-19. The first experiences started last year in Madrid as a protective product in the medical workers, and it worked as an immune barrier. The only physicians that had some symptoms, and they were very less symptoms and quickly recovered. And after having these results, in the second stage of the study, they did in Ecuador. In this case, they used Biusit antibiotic as a for the second opportunistic infection, and anti-inflammatory together, and important results they've got for removing immediately symptoms of the disease. And then in the second stage of the study in Ecuador, they did and registered in FDA, and this published already. We can see here in the patients, they've got a very quick recovery and less hospitalization day. And also we can see here the symptoms, how comparing to non-responders here, how quickly remove thanks to biopsy. Here, hospitalization days is also due to this publication is reduced. They can go quickly to their home. And also the analysis of biochemical parameters give better better results in AST and ALT. Another study they did and they published in Bulgaria. This is the first study, and it was a case study. Then they made other studies, and they've got a very quick hospitalization days after the use of the product. And this, in the second stage of the study, also they've got more patients. The difference from the Ecuador study, in Ecuador, the patients were non-responders, but here they've got a different type of patients. And this also randomized controlled trial published with 40 patients. And here we can see all the symptoms with Biusit and Aspri with or other systemic products I will talk briefly. Reduced all the scores. You can see fever, dyspnea, fatigue, cough reduced much better. So for the prevention, I use 1 vial of Biusit and 10 milliliters of Aspri. Aspri is other product of catalysis. We use it for asthma, for respiratory system problems, obstructions. It is expectorant, but also is antiseptic. That is important for controlling the viral particles in goblet mucus drops. So that's why we recommend the combination. If you don't have, nothing will happen, but it's important is Biusit. But when you have in the system, it is much better. 1 vial and 10 milliliters would be for the adults as a protective. For the children, the same, and even for the children under 6 years old. For a recovery, we use 3 times per day. In this case, every 8 hours. For the children, also we can use, and under 6 years old, half of the dose. And as you can see here, especially for the quick recovery, the patients who had COVID-19 can remove quickly this system. And also we use for the vaccines 10 days before, 10 days after the vaccination to prepare our immune system, and also for reducing the side effects of the vaccine. As this study suggests that immunomodulatory products are highly recommended in the vaccination cases, because we just promote better.
Sorry, Prof. Last minute, plus. Prof.
Yes, I'm finishing. That is the vaccination case that we use, and that is the Aspri product or other product that I was talking. It is especially for respiratory system product. for its antiseptic, antispasmodic, expectorant, and antiviral capacity. Is a helpful product for viruses. So that is generally the product that we use. And also this aspect has clinical trials. And thank you very much. I'm ready for your questions and answers now. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for giving us such informative and interesting presentation. Now we are the time for the question and answer session. We have two questions, one for Dr. Gourmet and one for Professor Bulan. For Dr. Gourmet, from Yomi Islamiyati, it is said that when the temperature is 39 degrees, we do not need to give antiviral because this is a physiological condition and can stimulate the body immune response. Then at the what temperature or condition do we give the anti-fever drugs, or it is not needed at all? And the second question from Dr. Eric to Prof. Bulan. The question is, if I'm not mistaken, you have mentioned during your presentation that there is a potential role or fused in SARS-CoV-2. Would you be kind enough to elaborate on more the current scientific evidence to support your statement? Following that question, do you think we need more evidence with a good study design to carefully use this immunomodulator in COVID-19 setting? Please, Dr. Gourmet, for the first question.
Dr. Evata.
Yeah.
So for fever, so I think it's a normal physiologic process that occurs once someone gets an infection. Even though it's a bacterial infection, it's a fungal infection, it's a viral infection. So the main thing over here that we have to understand, we should not interfere with this physiologic process. Let it go on. The main thing is we treat the infection. You got a bacterial infection, you give antibiotics. You got viral infection, you give antiviral. Fungal infection, you give antifungal. So do not do anything to the fever. So there's no role for antipyretics. This is what I've read from multiple papers. And when to give antipyretics, in that paper also they did not mention any specific temperature that you have to give antipyretics. Even though in one of the paper that I showed that at a maximum temperature of 39 degrees, the body is able to produce 10 times interferon gamma 1. And interferon gamma 1 is one of the key role in the innate immune system. So yeah, even though they did not mention any specific temperature for the rational use of antipyretic drugs, then from my side, yeah, we should not give any antipyretic drugs to our patient.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gourmet, for the answer. And the second question for Prof. Bulan from Dr. Eric. Please, Dr. Bulan, for your answer.
Yeah, thank you very much for the question. Yes, when we go to clinical studies or research papers, we see many studies related with glycyrrhizin and different viral infections. But as a biocid, also we have important studies against different viral infections. And when we started this problem, COVID-19, last year, the first thing that automatically we thought that our product is good for that. We knew that. And we immediately start with the studies in the hospital with the health workers. Because as you know, you guys have health workers are sacrificing themselves, working in a very difficult conditions with a very high load of virus without knowing what will happen, how this viral infection affects the people at this time last year talking. And they started to use these health workers one vial per day for the protection themselves. And most of them didn't get the disease, and the viral infections was circulating in their organism, but without creating symptoms. And the symptomatic ones that were very less, and they had a very quick recovery. After having these first results in March and April of last year, they start to apply this product to the patients also. After having these results that we can share with you, of course, they made a study in Ecuador in the same time, and they published this, and we can share, of course, with you also. And the second study of this Ecuador team, they made another one by registering the product in FDA of the United States. And then in the same time, they started to use in different hospitals. And in Romania, Bulgaria, and Spain, and in the last is they did, or for example, in Bulgaria, in 2 studies we can share with you.
Okay, Professor Bulan. For the next question from Dr. Francisca for Dr. Gourmet, it is possible to combine vitamin C and vitamin D supplementation as the adjuvant therapy for the patient with COVID-19. Are there any consideration or adjust for this therapy? And for Professor Bulan, okay, for Professor Bulan, is Fusit safe to use in patients with immunodeficiency such as cancer or lupus? And we have one question in the chat room, maybe for all panelists or all speakers. Is Fusit effective against COVID-19 new variants? Okay, maybe Dr. Gourmet, please, for the answer.
Thank you for the question. So I think not only in COVID-19, in any other infection, respiratory infection, in other organ infection, or in some chronic diseases, so there is a role for vitamin D and vitamin C. Yeah, so about vitamin D, I think there are lots of people, even before the pandemic, yeah, in rheumatoid arthritis, even in lupus patient, yeah, autoimmune diseases, even in some lung cancer patients. Also, they have referred that vitamin D plays an important role. Also in diabetic patient, yeah. So I think besides I think now they do not call it, some of the experts, they do not call it vitamin D as a vitamin, they refer to vitamin D as a hormone. So I think hormone vitamin D, so it plays a major role in not only in COVID-19, also in other chronic conditions. Yeah? And also about vitamin C, there are multiple papers, yeah, not only in COVID-19, even in ARDS-induced acute lung infection, they have been giving vitamin C, high-dose vitamin C for 96 hours. They have been giving 5 grams vitamin C, yeah, for 96 hours. The dose, some use 50 milligrams of 50 milligrams per body weight, and some studies use even a higher dose, 200 milligrams per body weight. And the results of those studies, even though the inflammation markers were not that reduced in the placebo and the study groups, but they found a significant reduction in ICU length of stay for this patient that were given this high dose vitamin C. And also in some there are also some papers regarding oncologic patients, yeah, breast cancer, lung cancer, and also some gastrointestinal cancer. By giving vitamin C 6 grams per day and give it for twice a week, it gives a good prognostic result. So what I've been doing in my practice right now is in treating patients with cancer patients, breast cancer patients, even lymphoma patients. I've been giving to them, I've been prescribing 5 grams of vitamin C twice a week, and I've seen good significant results. So it will be much better if you can combine. Okay, it's never mind. Combination will be much better. And for YSIT, I think Professor Bulen might have an in-depth explanation about this YSIT in some new variants, virus COVID-19. I think as long as we got a good immune system, good immunomodulatory like therapy, one of that is YSIT. I think it will also plays important role in COVID-19 new variant. That's it from me, Dr. Evata.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gourmet. And then for Professor Bulen, please for the answer for 2 questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Gourmet. As you mentioned in BioSeed, we have vitamin B complex and C all activated, potentiated thanks to molecular activation technology we have, and glycyrrhizinic acid together with other amino acid makes the product important immunomodulator. And as all immunomodulator, we are talking different degenerated or infected cells. The treatment is on the cytosol. So that's why when we have different disorders, autoimmune diseases, also the product is helpful, as the clinical trial shows. So that's why we suggest the use of BioSeed as a powerful immunomodulator. What we, especially viral infection cases and papilloma cases, I always mention this disease because it's increased statistically around the world, and some of them are highly pathogenic, creating the oncogenic. That's why the mechanism is on the notch pathway, and that's why we have improvement against papilloma virus also. And as you can see, BioSeed is efficient to non-specific antiviral capacity. That could be papilloma, that could be HIV, that could be COVID-19, and that could be also the different strains of COVID-19. So that's why the mechanism will work very similar for different virus types and variants.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Bulen and Dr. Gourmet. I think this is a clearly explanation for the answer. Because of the limited of time, so we close for the question and answer session. Finally, we come to the end of the session. I would like to thank for the speaker for the informative, interesting presentation, and all the participants for the very active participant. Thank you for the speaker, for Professor Bulen Kukurutku and Dr. Gourmet Singh, SPPDKP. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you.
Just if they have more questions, please, they can make to our colleagues there in Sintesa, Dr. Gourmet already in the country, but I can receive also your emails for any questions. I could be sharing of this information. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you, Professor Bulen.
Okay, I return to the decision to Jiccim committee.